Nation, Peter from Panda here. I'm so excited. I just got a product that I ordered. It's a Samsung 49-inch curved gaming monitor. Now, I don't game per se, but I want to talk you through my thought process here as I'm unboxing it. That, you know, as you might be able to see behind me, I have two monitors. For a productivity standpoint, you want to have two monitors. You want to have one monitor of content and the other one where you're producing, or you might want to have one monitor where you're playing games and the other one where you're watching TV. But having two monitors has its drawbacks. For one, you have a border between them, obviously kind of a separation between the screens, and that's okay. And then two, you have two big monitors. Now, the beauty of a big, giant curved monitor like the Samsung is that it's all one thing. And you can see here, giant piece of styrofoam. I am hoping that this just gives me an immersive experience where I can do spreadsheets like a boss. Now, the other problem is that this monitor from Samsung is expensive. It's like $1,000. And so I have been really patient, and finally, as you can see here, the monitor is in here and it's really heavy, and so I want to be careful about it. I was able to bring this into the house by myself, but it's almost as tall as me, so I couldn't even see where I was going. But because it's $1,000, you know, they are generally kind of a splurge in terms of computer accessories. Now, like I said, I was really patient and ended up buying this used, and so keep in mind that your experience buying this monitor might vary. The packaging, the contents, and also the condition. But I'm hopeful that this is actually in pretty nice shape. Supposedly it wasn't abused, and I'm not sure where to put all of this. So now there's a couple things that concern me about it in terms of its size, and that's kind of how far forward the monitor looks like it sits from the stand. So on my computer table, it's not really set up for an ultra-wide monitor, and so I think it's going to protrude because there are some dividers on the bookcase portion. We have the feet here, or the stand, and what that's going to do is it's going to push the monitor really far forward. Now, I do have a tray, a drawer that brings out the keyboard to me, and so that's actually okay because I usually sit back from the monitor quite a ways. If that weren't the case, I probably would either be thinking about a different table or desk, or cutting up my table a little bit. I have a box of Samsung stuff here. QLED Gaming Monitor, looks like the screen protector, looks like the back portion, the cover piece there. It looks like we have some screws, probably to mount the cover on. And then we have, and again, because I bought this used because I'm cheap, looks like we have a plastic cover to kind of cover where the arm attaches to the monitor. Here is the arm itself. Pretty robust. This thing is pretty heavy too. Lots of metal hardware on here. And then here is, like I said, the foot, which is kind of like a crow's foot, but it's a nice gunmetal finish. And this is going to go in here like that, and it looks like it'll just kind of stay in on its own. There are some screws on the bottom, so you'll screw it in. That's how it'll stay attached. And this needs to be attached to the back of the monitor here. So, but I'm just going to start assembling the stand here at least first. There are little Phillips head screws on the bottom, but they also have these little flip out tabs so you can twist these in by hand, which is pretty nice. Then I also do have a cord here. It looks like a DVI cable and then a power cable, kind of your standard monitor power cable. Now I will say that some people have poo-pooed this, especially gaming guys, because it's really a 1080p monitor. And so in terms of like really extreme gaming resolution, it's not really there. But for me, for doing mostly work, I think this is going to be perfect. Mount is going to install in the back. Alright, now I installed this arm into the back of the monitor here, and I just wanted to show you something. This metal plate is attached to the arm, but you can see this little bump here. there's a tab attached to this metal plate that goes underneath there. And then this little hole right here is like an indexing hole, and so there's a little bump there that lines everything up. Then you can screw in the 4 screws here, which should keep it in place. And this is going to be nice, this little tab here, and then that indexing, a hole there to kind of hold things in place. And as you can see here, we also have on the back this is a hook, I believe, for hanging your headphones on the back here. And as you can see, kind of a nice gunmetal. I don't need this particularly. And you can see a really bowed out plastic backing here. You can see how dramatic that curve is. I mean, if you didn't know the scale, it almost looks like a rear view car mirror. And the back panel comes off here. So this is where you're going to get to all your ports. You can see the power plug is right there. And then in terms of what we have here, it looks like a couple HDMI, display port and mini display port. Looks like we have a 3.5 millimeters there, a couple of USBs, and then a PC in. And that's about it. Lots of space here to have cords straight out, and then a cutout to kind of keep them all nice and centered. And then it looks like you can run the cords through the post here. You can see there's a hole right there. So you can keep things generally looking pretty clean, I think. Got the monitor set up, have been poking around with it, and have learned quite a lot. So first of all, as you can see here, man, this sucker is wide. That is for sure. Dun, 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 dun. So pretty big. And I've got my other monitor down here, and a couple things right off the bat that I want to say that I like and I dislike about it. First of all, the color is really quite good. I know it's not going to necessarily show up here, but it's really warm. It looks good. You can make some adjustments, and I'm really impressed with that. And in fact, what I really liked was the Scepter monitor. But I will say that no matter what I did with this particular monitor, the color was always maybe a little bit on the white or the blue shift side. And not a big deal, but you can really tell the difference when you're looking at a monitor that's got a kind of really nice color representation. So that is kind of really nice. Now, the thing that I don't like is look at how kind of narrow it is or short it is top to bottom. I have like a whole hand here from my desk to the bottom here. And so this monitor in particular had a lot more vertical real estate. It kind of went closer to the top, but much closer to the bottom. Now, that's just kind of a trade-off. It'd be nicer if it went more closer to the bottom here and filled in all of this. It would certainly feel more immersive. But I think for me, you know, when your eyes, and I'm kind of scooting up to it here, your eyes are going to be right in the center, and you don't necessarily want to look way down or way up. And so I think this is really usable, and I'm certainly getting used to it now that it's a day later. And the big thing is just kind of being able to pan side to side. Look at this. I've got 3 browser windows open, no seams, no borders. So that's what I really, really like about it. And the good thing is, and what wasn't a good thing, was I was really having trouble getting this to recognize my computer to work with this resolution, which is 3840 by 1080. It was kind of taking the 1920 and stretching it, and obviously that was not working. It didn't look right. And what I realized is that because I'm using an HDMI cable, HDMI just doesn't support the capability of this monitor. And so the problem was it was trying to push it out at, I don't know, 80, 90, 100 hertz. This is a 120 hertz monitor, and the HDMI cable just can't support that kind of level of data. So what I did was finally tweaking it manually with the 3840 by 1080 dimensions, and I kept kind of pushing up the refresh rate, and I finally got it to 50 hertz, and that's where it kind of maxed out and would not render actually past that. But as you can see here, I finally got it to force out that resolution, and I'm using just a standard HDMI cable. So that's great. It's actually working. You know, maybe things aren't going quite as quickly or as smoothly as I'd like. You know, I think above 30 hertz is kind of the minimum, but this monitor will support 120. So I did get this working, and as you can see here, if I take my browser here, I can just drag it anywhere I want. All right. Oh, there's my color. There's my color representation test. You know, this is an HDR camera here, but you can see here, I mean, that's a good looking picture of the crew of Serenity. Kaylee and the doctor and Shepard are missing. Whatever. But Inara Sarah is in perfect view there. Resolution isn't great. As you might be able to see, if I zoom in here, you can certainly see pixels. but especially for work, not a problem. And even when I was watching some movies and videos, they were really represented really nicely. I didn't see any, you know, to my eye, I didn't see any pixelation that was causing like a bad viewing experience. Now, something I do want to bring up here that I haven't seen anyone else bring up is that this has, you go down here and you hit the little button, which is a joystick, has a feature called PBP, which is picture by picture. And so what it will do is it will work like two separate monitors. And actually, because it has two HDMI ports in there, I did plug it in because what I figured out is that because I have two HDMI ports on the back of my computer and it supports two monitors, which is what I was using before, I plugged those in, and so you can run it in PBP mode and it will act and behave just like two different monitors. That's actually kind of interesting, and I was kind of doing it as an extended monitor setup a little bit, and that was working. But why it's interesting to me is actually you could have two different computers. You could have really behave like two different monitors if you have kind of a working side and a viewing side. A lot of stock traders will have kind of like charts and data flowing and then a trading terminal on the other side. And so there are those monitors that are two monitors attached to a single pedestal. I would say that you're better off from a cost standpoint is getting two monitors like this and just putting them side by side. You know, the curve will kind of fit and you'll get more vertical real estate. But it's kind of nice that that feature is here, you know, especially if you have like a work laptop or something set up on one side and, you know, a home desktop computer. So the PBP is actually a little bit more usable than I thought. Now, the other thing I want to throw up here too, and I love it. Look, this is center and I can bring it in here. We can look at it way over here or way over here, but I'm going to bring this up. This is our program that you can download from the Samsung site at, you know, when you download the driver and all that other stuff. Easy Setting Box. And what it does is it allows you to create kind of virtual snap to windows depending on what you want. And this is what I wanted to do is I use this one. You can adjust the grid. So what you get here are these red outlines of showing you where the windows are going to snap to, and then you can adjust them. So I can drag them when we're in kind of the red mode here and kind of moving them around and make windows of different sizes, and it'll show me the pixels right there, so I can really get them exactly. And what you can see here, if I gotta really back up because this thing is so wide, is that I have 3 snap windows. And I'm just gonna close this. And that's really important because you know, especially if you're just using it like a regular monitor, you don't want your web browser stretched all the way to the side. But when you do pull up another browser window and you want to maximize it, you don't want to have to always drag it and manually resize it. So let me show you here. If I pull this out here and I just bring it over here, it's going to snap to that window automatically, and likewise over here. You know, so if I have the window here, it's going to snap to that main one, and if I move it over here, you can see when it's blue, it'll snap. Now I can resize this, but what you will have to do is you have to go up to this icon right here, and I'm going to uncheck this, and that's going to let me kind of free float this now in this particular window, just like that. So now it's just like a regular window on a desktop. If I double click it, it's going to maximize out, and that's kind of the problem, is you don't want a web browser like that. You want to make the most of your real estate, but you don't want to waste real estate either. And so again, I can just take this and I can drag it back over here. I can kind of select, and what I can do is I can click here and that'll automatically snap it up. So it's kind of nice that this application is automatically, you know, included. There are some other software applications that will do the same thing, but this one is free and it's really basic. I know some of the other ones will do a little bit more, but this is all you really need, and I'm glad that they included it because I actually thought I was gonna have to pay for like a pro version of something to do this. So that being said, I'm really happy with this. I mean, at $1,000 retail, $1,100 retail, it's definitely a Luxo want purchase. It's a desire purchase, but it is pretty useful, and especially if you're a multitasker, I think it could really make a difference for you, especially if you're used to a 2-monitor setup and are always used to one monitor either being offsided or offset a little bit, or you're always used to having kind of that center seam where the 2 monitors are meeting. And that's generally what I think a lot of people deal with. Right now, you can create these windows to snap to anything you want, you know, so you don't have to worry about borders. You can stretch things. If you do a lot of copy and pasting, you do a lot of referencing to websites or documents and things like that. It's just really, really cool. I like it. And if you're a gamer, I'm sure, you know, but I just don't game much. And even though this is for gaming, You know, I'm not totally, you know, that's not my use case on it, but I really, really like it. I think it's pretty cool. So check it out. I'll put a link to it in the description. Peter Von Panda, out.